OUTA has said that the Supreme Court of Appeal's dismissal of OUTA's challenge to e-tolls makes no difference to their campaign. Now, Patrick Craven, spokesperson for Cosatu, joins us now on the line for a little bit more. Patrick, thanks so much for your time. Just touching on some of the comments that were made there by Paul Browning, he mentioned that incitement not to pay, which is something that you're doing, is incitement to break the law. What do you make of those comments?
No, good afternoon to your listeners. We totally reject this. Ultimately, yes, you have a legal obligation to pay, but you're not under any legal obligation to make it easy for SANRAL to collect the money, which is why we strongly urge people not to buy the e-tags. There is no law to say you must buy an e-tag. There is no law to say you must register with SANRAL. And we believe that it's our civic duty not to break the law, but to make it as difficult as possible for SANRAL to implement the law, which is basically unjust and also grossly inefficient. And this is why we are urging people to support the campaign, and we're absolutely convinced that e-tolling will be completely unworkable. And we've said that from the beginning. And we don't want to try to make it easier for them to pretend that it's working when we know that fundamentally it's flawed.
Patrick, you mentioned that you're trying to make it uneasy, so to speak, for the government or SANRAL to be able to deploy e-tolling, but it seems as though it's set in stone. So what is your end objective? If the process needs to be difficult, what are you hoping this will achieve?
I'm sorry, it's a very bad line. I'm not picking up what you're saying.
Patrick, my question is, what are you hoping to achieve? What is your end objective with regard to making the rolling out of e-tolls such a difficult experience?
We want to see road financing to come from general taxation. We think it's first much fairer because taxation is based on your ability to pay, and it's also far more efficient since taxes are collected anyway and you don't require any extra bureaucracy to collect it, unlike the e-tolls, which will require a huge, more than 1,000 people administering the collection of taxes of the tolls, which will simply not work. And ultimately our aim is to get the government to abandon it. We would, even at this late hour, hope we could convince the government that it's unworkable. It's still not too late to scrap the plan, because clearly it's going to be a disaster, which we don't want, and I must stress that. We would far rather have the thing scrapped and put on a viable basis, rather than have to go through the process of proving in practice that e-tolling is not going to work. But if that's what it takes, then that's what we will do. The ultimate aim must be to get e-tolls scrapped.
Patrick, it appears as though you're going to fight this tooth and nail. How much funding have you got behind you guys in order to be able to push this program that you're wanting to instill against government?
Yeah, it's not going to be an expensive campaign for us. We will mobilize our members and appeal to the wider public to join us in the activities which we'll be announcing tomorrow. And in the meantime, our main weapon will be to campaign through the media, talking now to your viewers, to help us by not registering with SANRAL, not buying the e-tags, and that, I think, alone will start to convince the government and SANRAL that this isn't going to work.